Geometry EOC Test Release 2025. Question 10. Walkthrough. Midpoint formula and coordinate geometry.
Let's read question 10. A line segment has an endpoint at 1, 1 and the midpoint at 1, minus 3. What are the coordinates of the other endpoint? A, 1, 5, B, 1, minus 1, C, 1, minus 5, D, 1, minus 7.
All right, let's walk through this step by step. We are given one endpoint at A, 1, 1, the midpoint at M, 1, minus 3, and we are trying to find the other endpoint, B. Step 1. Set up the idea. Remember, the midpoint is the average of the two endpoints, so whatever the missing point is, when we average it with 1, 1, we should get 1, minus 3. Step 2. Use the midpoint formula. We'll use the midpoint formula. Now let's plug in what we know. We'll call the missing point x, y. So we get midpoint is 1, minus 3. First point is 1, 1. So the equation becomes, on the left side, we have the midpoint, 1, minus 3. On the right side, we have the formula. Add the x's and divide by 2. Add the y's and divide by 2. So this is really saying, when I average the two endpoints, I get 1, minus 3. This equation is saying that the midpoint, which is the point 1, minus 3, is equal to the average of the two endpoints. On the right side, we are taking the x values, adding them together, 1 plus x, and dividing by 2 the y values, adding them together, 1 plus y, and dividing by 2. So, in words, the x-coordinate of the midpoint, which is 1, comes from averaging 1 and x, and the y-coordinate of the midpoint, which is minus 3, comes from averaging 1 and y. This allows us to create two separate equations, one for x, one for y, and then solve to find the missing endpoint. Now let's solve for the x value. Let's look at the x values first. 1 equals 1 plus x divided by 2. Multiply both sides by 2. 2 equals 1 plus x. Subtract 1. X equals 1. Now let's solve for the y value. Minus 3 equals 1 plus y divided by 2. Multiply both sides by 2. Minus 6 equals 1 plus y. Subtract 1. Y equals minus 7. So the missing endpoint is 1 minus 7. Strategy reminder. Think of midpoint problems like this. You're not guessing. You're working backwards from an average. If you know the midpoint and one endpoint, you can always find the other by solving two simple equations. And here's a quick check. The x values stayed the same implies that tells us this is a vertical line. The y values are evenly spaced around minus 3. You can also verify your answer by plugging your x and y values back into the midpoint formula and checking that you get 1 minus 3. That way, you're not just solving, you're confirming your answer is correct.